Oh, hello there. Hi, my friends. Welcome back to the channel. And today, as you saw from the title of the video, we're going to tackle a interesting subject, in my opinion, criticism. It's something that we all do as humans. And I want to talk a little bit about the spectrum, more of a spectrum of criticism, and what what some positive and some negative things are, and maybe give you some tips on what you can do about it, and how you can tackle it as a thing that you encounter in your human life. So to start off, I'm gonna say that this isn't all about the self-criticism. It's also, I'm trying to get on like a bigger spectrum of it. But the self-criticism will be included in this video, and I'll tackle that a bit. And it's kind of a personal issue with I've had some encounters with that myself, so I'm going to also talk about that. I'm going to give examples, and we're gonna see where it goes. So overall, I think criticism is kind of something that evolves throughout human life, in my opinion. Haven't gotten very far in human life, but as far as I've dealt with it, with criticism, to me it seems like it's, again, this is my opinion, so I couldn't find any studies that actually show this, but the way I see it is it's kind of evolving in two ways. We all start when we get to be more conscious of our being, of our ego, I would say. We all start to blame kind of externally, to blame other people or other external factors for troubles in our lives, or for whatever happens. Right, it's not my fault. That guy cut me off. Right, look at that guy. Look at how he parks. All these drivers are really bad. Inflation isn't really our fault. It's the economy, and it's the companies or the government or whatever, right? We start to blame externally, to blame other people, and to or systems of groups of people, or systems of people that are doing a bad job, right? They're not doing anything good. So that might be like a first step into criticism, where you start planting the blame on other people. At some point, you may realize that you are part of one of these groups yourself, or more of these groups, and some things may be your fault as either a group of people, or you being part of a certain group of people. But what happens with that, you may realize, some of things may be my fault, but I'm following the rules that the group has set. So it's not really my fault, it's the group's fault as well. So I can't really change the group, or change how drivers behave in general. So it's not my fault that there's all these accidents or happening, or that the crime rate is high, or whatever. So I think that's the next step from pushing blame on everyone else. You realize that you may be part of the group that you're blaming, but you can't really do anything about it. Then what you realize is that, at some point, throughout the journey, I would say, you realize that some things may be your fault, and there are some things you can do about it. For example, if you're during your driving, you obey the rules and you pay attention to what the other drivers are doing and you act like a good driver, right? You have this sort of rule set of, yes, I'm doing my job as a citizen or as a driver or as a member of the community. I am doing my part and I'm doing good. I'm doing it good. I'm trying to be better and to provide an example, and I can by doing that I can solve some of the problems, at least that I encounter. So not really all problems, but the problems that I encounter, so at least my slice of reality is a little bit better. It's not, you can't control everything, but at least your slice is a little bit better. And I think this is a little bit of evolution that happens. And another thing that can happen and is that doing this third step, I would say, it's you get that inner critic where instead of pushing blame on others, you start, well, what can I improve about myself? What can I do? Or how should a good driver behave? How should a good employee? What should a good employee do? And how can I make my work better so that I can evolve and I'll make the workplace better, actually. And instead of being this person that always complains that work is bad, you can actually do something about it and be a positive example, at least, right? So this is like an inner critic, self-criticism that comes in, but it's very, very tiny, and it starts by looking at some things that you can do and having an ideal of sorts. But then if you let it, it can spiral out of control. So that's where you gotta be careful. You can get into a side where you can see all the impact that you have on every system or every human, everything that you encounter. You can try to assess the impact that you have on that and try to act better. However, that's a lot of mind power that you're using to actually see all these connections and how they're all tied together. So you might get into something that you can say that, oh, it's actually most things that are my fault, but I'm still doing something about it. I'm still trying to act like I can. I'm still trying to fix them or to be an example and to be positive about it and to try to mend things here and there so that the experience itself is positive as it can get. And you can actually go into a bad place where you can, and believe me, I've been there, where you see that a lot of the choices that you make don't really impact, or you don't have control over some things. So you might think that most things are your fault and there's nothing you can do about it. It's just, that's how it is. You can't force your boss to give you a raise so that you can pay your rent, or you can't really teach someone how to not be road ragey, right? So there are some things that are out of your control, and when you realize that, realize that criticism itself is focused on you, and you are improving yourself and the slice that you have, but then realize that your slice is teeny tiny compared to all the world that is out there, and you can't do anything about most of it. What you need to do then, I think, is kind of accept it and not be overwhelmed by it. And of course, the worst thing is to think that everything is your fault and everything that goes on in your life is your fault, which isn't. Like I said, there are some things that you cannot control, and no matter how much you try to improve them, they're not in your hands at all. Yeah, if you have a friend that's toxic and that's always drags you down in situations, and you can cut them out, right? But you can't control everything. You can't control the economy by yourself. You can't, there are some things that are out of our control, and accepting that is quite hard, even though it sounds like, oh yeah, I accept it, it's fine. When you get to process this internally and to face it day by day, then you really understand that it is a process. So yes, I think that there is an external critic that loves to blame others, and it's kind of like a self-soothing, more of a mechanism that happens, like when seeing other people mess up, or you can get also angry at them, but also it's a little bit righteous, where you feel like, oh yes, I am better than everyone else. This can kind of get into a superiority complex, which is also bad. Overall, I think that self-criticism can be good and can be bad. It is correlated with some personality traits. I've read somewhere that it's correlated negatively with extroversion. So extroverted people do tend to be less self-critical, which, as we'll see forward, has positive and negative impacts on your life. So we'll talk about that afterwards. Also negatively correlated with agreeableness. So if you're very agreeable, you also tend to not self-criticize a lot. And with conscientiousness as well. So if you're very conscientious, if you're very focused on what you need to do, and are very hardworking, then self-criticism isn't really a thing for you. And it's also positively correlated with perfectionism, which is very interesting. I think that the fact that if you are a perfectionist and you want to get things to the most teeny tiny detail to get them right, then you will get into a spiral of self-criticism when you don't get it. And yeah, with perfectionism, I feel like that's a whole other topic that we can delve into. So now let's look a little bit. I think we can talk about what some positive aspects of self-criticism are, and what are some negative aspects to it. I think that the positive stuff is much easier to talk about, because it's basically allowing you to grow. If you have if you have self-criticism in healthy amounts, of course, you can think about what and see places where you need to grow. For example, you can see situations or patterns of behaviors, patterns of thought that are that you don't like, that you would like to change. For example, oh, I always get angry when I'm driving, right? How do I change that? And you start to assess that in a way and try to get an answer by yourself to this. You can ask other people as well, but ultimately, it is my opinion that advice from other people cannot be 100% effective ever, because they don't know all the variables and all the things that you're going through, so all facets of your life. So they can't really give you the perfect solution or the perfect advice for that. So it's all about you. You need to do that yourself. So you get an awareness of, if you pay attention to, shout out to my last video, you can check it out if you want to. So yeah, if you pay attention to patterns of thought or patterns of behaviors that you would like to change, that can allow for some really interesting personal growth, and it can help you a lot. However, there's also a negative side of the same coin. It's called self-criticism, because it can trigger very negative feelings from sadness and disappointment, which are quite tolerable to anger, shame, guilt, hopelessness, and worthlessness, which are very, very dark and very somber type of, I would say, they're very sorrowful and very, it's a very dark place to be in. But there are some things that I found helpful that you can do. I found them on a website. I'll link it down in the comments. So I think the first thing you can do is try to find those things that you're good at. Instead of looking at all the negative things, is try to find some strengths to it, to yourself. Try to find some things you're good at, some things, we're all human, we can't be perfect in everything that we do. You are good at some things, you are worse at others, of course. So try to find some things that you can stand on, some pillars that you can focus on. I'm really good. Actually, I may be a bad driver, but I'm actually a very good husband or a father, or I am a very good brother, or very good coworker. So I help people. Then something that self-criticism also does is that this inner negative voice always comes up with proof. You see, you're very bad at math because look at your grades. It's all 60%, 70%. You're not good, and that may ring true in your head. May ring true that I suck at math and it's not good. But what you have to realize is that, and this is again a thing that you can do, is understand that proof is all relative as well. It's not, it is right now, right? But people can get better, and input of effort really helps. I know you can't get better at everything, but if again you pay attention to what you want to improve and take steps towards it, you can definitely improve. And proof, it is relative, because even if you got a 70% in the test, right? Is it how many people got over 70%? How hard was the test? You need to assess that and to think also about, like I said, strengths. I may not be good at math, but I know 6 languages, so I have my strengths. And those negative thoughts that come up, try to add a positive ending to it. Like I said, I am not good at math, but I know 6 languages. I can play guitar, or I can sing very well. So find your strengths and try to end those negative thoughts with something positive as well, which will, maintain your self-confidence and your ability um, to not dive deep into those negative feelings. Um, Also, try to find a purpose to the negative self-talk. Think when you start getting these thoughts of, oh my God, I can't believe I did that, right? How am I so stupid? How am I doing this so badly, right? How can I suck this hard at this activity, right? What is the purpose of it? Think on it. Right when you have the thought, you're like, wait, right? Step back and look at it. Why am I engaging in this negative self-talk? What is the purpose of it? Is it to get better, or is it to bring myself down? Which is, very different. So again, awareness helps a lot, and if you find a purpose in it, I think you can turn it into something positive. Something else that helps is also trying to see yourself as someone you care for. I think that was like I think I read it in a book. I think it was the Rules of Life by Jordan Peterson. So if you see yourself as someone you care for, that helps a lot, because would you say to your spouse or to your brother or to your sister that, oh, man, you're so stupid, why did you do that? You would never say that, right? So why are you treating yourself like that? Treat yourself better. See yourself as a person you care for. Your mom. You would never say to your mom or your dad, or say, oh my God, how can you suck so bad at drawing? Or how can you, burn that dish? Man, you suck at cooking. You never say that. You never say that. So why are you doing it to yourself? Don't treat yourself better, and try to find a purpose of it, and purpose to improving. Also, the last point I want to make is mindfulness. I think is very important, because that is a little bit, I want to say, like a key to awareness, is to practice some mindfulness, self-reflection. Try to look back on your thoughts, try to look back on what you did, and stepping back and maybe look at it like you're a third person looking at the thing, right? You're not yourself, you're someone else that's looking. How does that look? And if you also see that voice, like you're having a dialogue, is this a good relationship that you're in? Think on that. And meditation, I think, also helps with awareness. Is something that I am for, so I can really recommend it. Try to meditate and try to find the stillness, and the thoughts it'll get better to organize your thoughts, and to get that awareness kind of perk, let's say. Hey, one quick thing as well. If all these negative feelings and everything gets too overwhelming, don't try to hold yourself back from contacting a health professional. Just go out there and get some help, right? Get a professional opinion, talk to someone, therapist, psychiatrist, or whatever you need, just so that you can get past that deep dark place, and you can resurface as a better human being and a better version of yourself. So yes, let me know if you guys have anything you want to add, or if you agree or even disagree with some things that I said. Maybe I'm wrong. We're all human. We're all learning. So if I'm wrong, let me know, and I can change. I can learn more. Yeah, these were some thoughts that I had on criticism, self-criticism. So if you like the video, share, like, subscribe, all that jazz, and see you in the next one.